June 1942. 6 months after Pearl Harbor, the Imperial Japanese Navy is seemingly unstoppable in the Pacific. But, in a remote stretch of ocean roughly halfway between Asia and North America, everything is about to change. The Battle of Midway would become one of history's most decisive naval engagements, but it began as a massive gamble. Japanese Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto had engineered a complex plan to lure America's remaining aircraft carriers into a trap. His target was Midway Atoll, a tiny pair of islands that served as a crucial American base in the Central Pacific. Yamamoto's plan appeared perfect on paper. His fleet included 4 of Japan's finest aircraft carriers, 7 battleships, and dozens of support vessels. The Japanese had every reason to be confident. They had dominated the Pacific for 6 months. Their pilots were among the world's best, and they believed they had the element of surprise. But they were wrong. American code breakers had achieved what many thought impossible. They had cracked Japan's main naval code, known as JN-25. This breakthrough meant that Admiral Chester Nimitz, commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, knew exactly where and when Japan would strike. Still, the Americans were badly outnumbered. Nimitz could only deploy 3 aircraft carriers: the Enterprise, Hornet, and Yorktown. The Yorktown had been badly damaged just a month earlier at the Battle of the Coral Sea, but shipyard workers had performed a miracle, making her seaworthy in just 72 hours instead of the estimated 3 months. The battle began on the morning of June 4th. At 4:30 a.m., Japanese aircraft began launching from their carriers to strike Midway Island. The American base was damaged, but remained operational. What the Japanese didn't know was that American scout planes were already searching for their fleet. At 7:10 a.m., an American PBY patrol aircraft spotted the Japanese carriers. What followed was a series of American attacks that seemed to achieve nothing. Torpedo bombers approached low and slow and were decimated by Japanese fighters. Of the 41 torpedo bombers that attacked, only 6 survived. Not a single torpedo hit its target. But these seemingly futile attacks served a crucial purpose. They drew Japanese fighters down to low altitude, leaving the sky above virtually undefended. At precisely this moment, American dive bombers appeared high above the Japanese fleet. What happened next would change the course of the war in the Pacific. In just 6 minutes, 3 Japanese carriers, the Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu, were turned into floating infernos. American dive bombers caught them at their most vulnerable moment, when their decks were loaded with fueled and armed aircraft preparing for their next strike. A 4th carrier, the Hiryu, launched a counterattack that badly damaged the Yorktown, but was herself found and destroyed later that afternoon. The numbers tell a stunning story. Japan lost 4 fleet carriers, 1 heavy cruiser, and 248 aircraft. More than 3,000 Japanese sailors and airmen were killed. The Americans lost 1 carrier, 1 destroyer, and 150 aircraft, with 307 Americans killed. But the true significance of Midway goes far beyond these numbers. Japan had lost 4 of its 6 fleet carriers, the same carriers that had attacked Pearl Harbor 6 months earlier. More importantly, they lost over 100 of their best pilots, men with years of experience who could not be easily replaced. The battle marked the end of Japanese expansion in the Pacific. Never again would Japan be able to launch major offensive operations. Instead, they were forced to fight a defensive war, trying desperately to hold the territory they had already captured. For America, Midway was a turning point that proved several crucial things. It showed that Japan could be beaten, that American code breaking could provide crucial advantages, and that carrier-based aircraft had become the decisive weapon in naval warfare. The age of the battleship was over. The era of the aircraft carrier had begun. Midway also demonstrated the importance of intelligence in modern warfare. The American victory wasn't just about courage or fighting skill, though there was plenty of both. It was about information, knowing where the enemy would be and being there to meet them with overwhelming force at the crucial moment. The battle highlighted how industrial capacity would shape the war's outcome. While Japan struggled to replace its lost carriers and trained pilots, America's vast industrial might was just beginning to make itself felt. By war's end, the U.S. would build dozens of aircraft carriers, while Japan would complete only a handful. Today, military planners still study Midway for its lessons about the importance of intelligence, the role of technology, and the vital need to adapt to changing circumstances. The battle demonstrates how victory often depends not just on superior numbers or equipment, but on making better decisions with the information at hand. Midway stands as a testament to the courage of both American and Japanese sailors and airmen who fought and died in the vast expanse of the Pacific. But it also marks the moment when the tide of war turned, when American industrial might and military innovation began the long process of pushing back against Japanese expansion, leading ultimately to victory in the Pacific theater. The remote atoll where this pivotal battle took place remains much as it was in 1942, now serving as a national wildlife refuge. But its name has become synonymous with one of history's greatest naval victories, a battle that proved that even in humanity's darkest hours, the course of history can change in a matter of minutes